Hello YouTube and welcome to the channel. Now then, on today's video we're going to be looking at this. It's a Wltoys 184011. Now this has very kindly been lent to the channel for an unboxing and a teardown. So that's precisely what we're going to do today. Now the eagle-eyed out there amongst you might be looking at this thing and saying, well, that just looks like a Wltoys A959, and you'd probably be right, because I bet it shares a good proportion of its build with one of those previous models. Now I've got the original. Now this is the Bum Basic version. You can still buy an A959-B. God, I wish they'd give them names. But I've got the original version, and this was the lowest spec version they did, which was the A959A. So I'm interested to see what are the main differences between these two now, because like I say, this was the lowest spec version you could buy, and this is now the lowest spec version. Well, in fact they've changed the name, but it's the lowest spec version of that particular buggy. So I'm interested to see what they've changed, what you get, what you don't get, and we'll just take it from there. See what makes this thing tick. Now before we crack the box open, let's have a quick look at the specs. We've got 2.4 gig, ready to run, 4-wheel drive. It says 30 plus kilometers an hour. These claims are always a bit on the optimistic side normally. 7.4 volt, 900 milliamp hour battery comes as standard, and this thing is 1/18th scale. I think it cost the gentleman in the UK 47 quid, which is approximately $57 for our American brethren at the time of filming this video. Anyway, enough of the waffle, let's get into it. Let's see what we actually get. Right then, in the box we get our Wltoys instructions. We get a battery charger, USB battery charger, and we get a plastic wheel spanner stroke wrench. And if you've ever had the misfortune of using one of these plastic spanners stroke wheel wrenches, they are absolutely crap. We have got our transmitter here. Now I do like these transmitter, big fan of them. We've got the usual steering on this little wheel. We've got the usual throttle on the trigger. I think they take 4 AA batteries. Yes, they do. And have we got a throttle dual rate and a steering trim? We've got a steering trim. Unless it's broken, doesn't appear to be any switch behind the steer and the throttle dual rate. Okay, we've got on-off switch, and we've got that 1, 2, 3, 4 bind button of some description. But yeah, I don't think there's a switch there, to be honest. So I don't think you get an adjustable throttle on this. Last but not least, we have the actual buggy itself. Now, straight off the bat, I do like this blue colour. Shocks look a bit faded though. I mean, they're definitely not oil. They're super bouncy, but the A1s are anyway, or they were. But it looks outwardly to be exactly the same as the old A959A, so I think it's pretty much based on the same thing. Anyway, what we'll do, we'll get the clothes off this thing and we'll have a look underneath. Now that the bodywork's off, underneath I can see that there are loads of differences between this and the old A model. One of which is on the A there's a battery strap that holds the battery down, but on this model we've actually got a sort of plastic retaining clip with an R clip. If you'll have a look on the old one, it's just got a battery strap. The actual chassis itself is different, believe it or not. I would have thought they'd have kept them the same, but the chassis is different. And we've got, it says 380 motor in the instructions, but that looks much smaller. It says 380 motor. I mean, that's a 390 in the old A model. But that looks much smaller than a 3.8. I mean, I might be wrong. We've got the same servo, so that setup is exactly the same. We've got a slightly different ESC and receiver combo than the old outgoing model. There's no cooling fins on this one whatsoever. The battery, let's have a look at the battery. Let's pull it out. There's a little lithium ion. And indeed it is 900 milliamp hour, 7.4 volt. Anyway, let's get into this. We're going to start whipping this thing apart and see what makes it tick. Right, wheels are off and they are identical to the preceding models. Up front we've got a very similar sort of suspension setup, and I think the wishbones and the steering gear etc. is identical to the old A model. The only difference being up front we get plastic drive shafts, whereas they used to be metal on the entire range. If they're the same size as the old A959 ones, that's an easy fix because you just replace them with metal ones. They're freely available. On the rear, however, front drive cups are metal, by the way, but that's the same as the old preceding model. On the rear, that's where they've started to change things. We've got a plastic drive cup and a plastic drive shaft, and we've got some Phillips headed screws. All the others, I believe, there used to be like a little hex headed one, but they've used some Phillips headed screws this time. So there's a few changes and a bit of penny pinching. I mean, bearing in mind the A959A was about 40 quid 12 months ago, over 12 months ago. So that was the cheapest one they did. I mean, this is slightly more expensive. It looks like they've sort of penny pinched in certain areas. But anyway, we'll carry on. I think I'll get this motor out. We'll have a look at the transmission. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be plastic gears inside. The A model was anyway, so I don't think there'll be any difference there. Anyway, let's start getting some of these major bits and pieces off, and we'll take a look. Now that the front end is off, we can have a quick look at the drive shafts, etc. Obviously, the preceding model had metal ones. These are plastic with little metal pins in. The front drive cups are metal, same as the old model. The low wishbones, exactly the same. There's no difference there whatsoever. Some of the tie rods are a slightly different design. The shocks, unfortunately, it doesn't look as though, I mean, obviously they're not oil filled, but on the older models, you could actually convert them to be oil filled, but I don't think you can on these. They look to be, well, I'm not sure if you can get the lids off. Let's just have a quick look inside, see if they've got seals, but I very, very much doubt it. There is. Very, very much doubt it. If we can get them off, if it's easy to get the top off, or they're glued on or something stupid. No. It looks, yeah, no, you can't convert these, unfortunately. They look posh, but that's as far as it goes. Right, it's a very similar story at the rear. We've got our same plastic dog bones with the little metal pins through them. The lower wishbones are the same as the older preceding model. Same shocks as the front. I mean, they're not really shock absorbers, are they? Just literally just springs. There's no dampening there whatsoever. Like I say, at least with the older ones, you could actually convert them to oil, but these, nah, forget it. Now then, this is where it gets really cheap. The rear hubs, basically there's no bearing surfaces in these whatsoever. We're literally plastic on plastic with these plastic drive cups at the rear. Now then, the metal bushes that you used to be able to get, well, you can still get them, sorry, the metal bushes that you got on the older model, they were naff. They wore out dead quick, but I tell you what, they're not going to wear out half as quick as these. Plastic on plastic, they're going to last all of 5 minutes. They are. That's really cheap. That is borderline toy grade, I would say. You're going to end up replacing these. I mean, there's loads of play in them straight out of the box. You know what I mean? There's loads of play in them straight out of the box. So God only knows what these things are going to be like once you've run them for 10-15 minutes. That is rubbish. Okay, powertrain wise, we've got our 380 motor. I'm sure that is smaller than the 380. There's the 390. Oh, sorry, there's the 390 out of the old model. I mean, it could be, I suppose, but you obviously get a much smaller motor in this new version. The diffs are plastic, all plastic. I can feel them inside. They're horrible. They're not very nice at all. They're quite stiff. The centre drive shaft is all plastic. I think the preceding one was, to be fair. That does look like a smaller reduction gear, but I might be mistaken. It might be the same as the A model. Same on the front there. You got a plastic diff with plastic cups. What else have we got? So that's sort of the transmission side. Electronics. There's our ESC and receiver combo. No cooling fins on it. You probably don't need it because of the smaller motor, to be fair. The same 5-wire servo. I mean, it's pretty good, really, and it's easy to convert them. You can easily get a 3-wire servo to fit. I mean, Wltoys, WPL servos fit. And like I say, the chassis is different again. The chassis is different. It's all plastic, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's pretty much it, really. We've definitely voided the warranty. Right, having stripped this thing down, let's have some good and bad points. Now, I'm struggling to think of anything positive to say about this thing because I think they've made it too cheap. Bad points are that I mean the original A959 wasn't the best screwed together RC in the world. I mean, it does go. The suspension and the drivetrain do go sloppy very quickly on it. This is going to be even worse. I mean, like I say, plastic on plastic with regards to the drive cups. That's just a joke. That's going to last 5 minutes. But what I've seen of this thing, that I think they've gone too far, and I think they've made it too cheaply. Unfortunately, it's not a particularly cheap RC still, so I really think they've shot themselves in the foot with this one. If you can pick up the old, I mean, I think for another 20 quid, I think you can go and get the B model, you know, the fast one. So there really isn't any point whatsoever in buying the 1840-11. So conclusion time, would I recommend it? And I'm going to be honest and say no, avoid it. I think, like I say, I think they've gone too cheap with it. They've cut too many corners, and I think there are a lot of better RCs out there for similar or fractionally more money for the same sort of. Just to give you an idea, this bloke got a reasonable deal for 47 quid on this. It should have been 55. But just to give you an idea, Banggood was selling the Eachine EC30 brushed version for 57 quid. So, you know, you pay another tenner and you get a Buggy that's A, larger, scale up, and B, is going to be a lot more durable than this thing. So if I was you, 1840-11 from Wltoys, avoid it like the plague. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video and you found it of some use and interest, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button for more similar future content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you again very, very soon.